Hi, and welcome everyone to this OLC Presenter Services webinar that focuses on Innovation Studio sessions. My name is Katie Schuster. I'm the Director of Conferences and Events for the Online Learning Consortium, and we're glad to have you here or watching the recording afterward as well. Please feel free to use the chat box if you have any questions. There is a control panel down at the bottom of your Zoom screen. If you cannot see the chat area, you click on that chat icon and you can ask any questions there. And I'm going to turn things over to Jean Mandernack, who is our chair of OLC Presenter Services for the OLC Innovate 2019 conference. Thanks, Jean.
Thanks, Katie. As she mentioned, I'm leading up Presenter Services this year. And if you're not familiar with Presenter Services, we're kind of your one-stop shop to help you with your presentation, whatever those needs might be. So we can help you by simply reviewing your slide deck and offering suggestions. Maybe you'd like to meet with somebody one-on-one and bounce around ideas, or we could even come to your presentation at the conference and give you some feedback there. So if there's anything we can do to help you with Presenter Services, I would welcome you to reach out. As you know, we're doing webinars like this today. We also have some recorded webinars online, so if there's something you missed that you'd like to see, you can go check out Presenter Services. And we have some just guides and tip sheets and some other resources to help you increase your comfort with your presentation as well as the quality and engagement of that presentation. So check us out if you haven't yet. Today, I'm excited to introduce to you Rick Holbeck. Rick Holbeck is the Executive Director of the full-time online faculty at Grand Canyon University. And so I get to work with Rick professionally, as well as Rick and I have collaborated on a lot of research over the years, looking at different ways we can enhance and improve the online learning experience. So with that said, I'm excited to introduce you to Rick, and I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you very much, Jean and Katie. I'm really excited to present today on the Innovation Studio sessions. This is really an interesting presentation session that I'm looking forward to seeing when I go to OLC Innovate this year. So today we are going to learn basically how to design a presentation that allows attendees to learn new information and immediately apply it, manage an interactive workshop, foster interactions that encourage reflection, application, and practice, and promote application of new skill by highlighting the relevance, need, and value of the information skills. So really, we're just going to talk about what an Innovation Studio session is going to look like. And one of the things that comes to mind immediately for me is really a show and tell session. And you know, you think of show and tell as being something you do in elementary school where you're basically showing something off to the audience, but that's really what you're going to be doing here. You're going to take whatever innovation that you have and show it to the audience, but not only that, you're going to teach them to go away with that skill set so that they can use it for their own use in the future. So it's like a show and tell, but it also has a lot more collaboration and guided practice involved than an actual show and tell would in elementary school. What you would want to highlight in the Innovation Studio session would be applied teaching, learning, management, and research in learning. And again, it would be in a highly interactive environment. When I think about this, I kind of think about maybe a presentation that starts with just showing what you're going to be doing and demonstrating a little bit about it, but then immediately getting your audience involved so they're engaged in learning while you are presenting. So you're more of a guide on the side than a sage on the stage. Some of the topics that could be included are specific pedagogical strategies, technology tools, research methods, design thinking, industry innovation, and leadership approaches. This is really not a full list. There could be many other things that could be added, but the main idea is that it should be something innovative that can be a hands-on learning opportunity for the participants. You're going to hear me say that over and over again about the hands-on experience. There are a lot of strategies that can help you in the Innovation Studio session. One of them is to take a deep dive into your topic. So at the very beginning, you're going to want to really show them what this is, how it works, and explain to them why this is such a good strategy that they will want to take with them. Have goals in mind and what you want the participants to be able to do by the end of the presentation. really they will need to be able to leave the presentation with some experience that they can take out and apply immediately to what they're doing. Create opportunities for hands-on experience and application. Participants really are going to be able to take what you're doing and work with it during the presentation. So it's not going to be like standing up at the front of the room and just talking for 45 minutes. There's probably going to be more collaboration with the participants than you're actually going to be speaking. I like to, from my teaching days, I always used to teach the I do, we do, you do strategy to the teachers that I've mentored. This is an idea where you start with the I do, where you're going to actually be modeling whatever you're going to be presenting to the participants. Next is the we do. That is when you're going to actually be the guided practice person and go in and teach them hands-on applications of whatever topic you're going to be presenting on. And then demonstrate a rationale for the new learning. How can this be beneficial to the participant when they leave your session? So really the you do in the I do, we do, you do is them going out after the presentation and being able to successfully implement the strategy on their own. Again, an Innovation Studio session should be highly engaging and interactive. I said it before, you want to be a guide on the side instead of a sage on the stage. What that means is sage on the stage is kind of the idea of standing in front and lecturing to someone. A guide on the side is actually being a more participant-led discussion. So the participants are going to be very active during this session. An icebreaker at the beginning can help to get the participants in this collaborative mindset as well. It's going to be much different than what people are used to in a presentation at a conference. Explore and practice are the most important, so you have to provide a lot of guided practice to the participants at the end of the session. Some other important things are to create tangible takeaways. Be sure that they have something to take with them at the end of the presentation, such as a resource, a handout, websites, whatever you have that will help them when they leave the session. Make sure that the presentation slides and handouts are also uploaded to the OLC conference management system so that the participants can get to those anytime they need to as well after the session. And our keys to a successful presentation, again, we want to make sure they are highly engaging and interactive. Guide on the side instead of a sage on the stage. Offer in-depth views into the tools and the new approaches. Encourage discussion and exploration. Provide guided hands-on practice. And also create tangible takeaways. Those are really just a review of everything that I said already, but I think the main idea that you want to take from this is that you're going to want to provide a little bit at the front so that you can show them exactly what the strategy you were trying to teach them is, and then spend most of the time being with the participants while they are actively engaged and interacting with whatever you are presenting to them. And then again, make sure that they have something they can take with them afterwards so that they can successfully do this on their own. And that's really, the whole thing with the Innovation Studios. There are some logistical pieces that I'm going to turn this back over to the group for. And I think the first one is the room setup that we have to talk about. And I don't know if this is Katie or Jean.
Thanks, Rick. I'll try to take it from here in terms of room setup and other logistics. And Christine may have some items to throw in there as well. But the Innovation Studio sessions do take place in the space of the Innovation Studio, which is in the exhibit hall. So there are some specific considerations you want to take in mind while you're preparing your presentation that are specific to this space. So there will be roundtables for your attendees within the Innovation Studio. There will be a podium and a mic and a projector for you to plug your laptop into, just like in any other presentation room. But as you can kind of see in some of the pictures from previous years of Innovation Studio area, because it's in the exhibit hall, there will be drapes, blue drapes around, but it still potentially can be a little bit noisy. So you just want to take that into consideration and definitely make sure that you're using the mic. This area, as Christine mentions, has a lot of energy, and sometimes that translates into additional volume. So just do make sure you're using the mic throughout your presentation. And also, if there are questions from the participants, make sure that they either ask those into the mic or that you repeat the question using the mic as well, so that everyone can hear. We will have techs, AV and IT techs in the area as well to help with any issues or adjustments that need to be made concerning those items as well. Also, logistically, just so that you are aware, we do set everything up for a 16:9 standard slide format. We can accommodate 4:3 slides, but everything will look best in 16:9. There is an HDMI connection at the podium, so you will want to make sure that your laptop or your device that you're using as part of your session has an HDMI port. If it does not, please make sure you bring an adapter to make sure that you can plug into the HDMI connection. Christine, back to the mics. Christine also mentions in the chat that there's a wireless handheld mic for questions and answers, so that you can have the audience pass that around to make sure that everybody uses that mic so that they can be heard by everyone. We also recommend that you start and end any presentation materials with a session evaluation slide, which actually can be found on the Presenter Services webpage and on the Presenter FAQ. It's set up as a PowerPoint slide, so you can just download that and add that to your materials to encourage attendees to submit their evaluations of your session. There are prizes for both attendees who submit evaluations as well as presenters who accumulate evaluations. So it's a random drawing based on certain criteria, like if presenters are entered into the drawing if they receive 10 or more evaluations. And the prize is a $25 gift certificate. And then attendees also would be entered into a drawing for submitting evaluations. And again, those are $25 gift certificates. So there is wireless internet in the conference space for attendees. If you do have things that you post to the resources section, your presentation files, any supplemental materials, things like that, that can be accessed from your session page, so that attendees would be able to go there and access those items. That being said, I do recommend that your presentation materials, you have not a hard copy, but like a backup, you present using materials that are on your local machine, just to avoid any potential complications. We never anticipate an issue with the Wi-Fi. That being said, just because we don't anticipate it doesn't mean that it never happens. So, but we do our best to make sure the Wi-Fi is steady and everyone can access it and use it. But just on the safe side, we recommend presenting from a local copy. And as Christine mentioned, there's a hardline drop for presenters in the Innovation Studio. So I know Rick mentioned this as well. We do strongly encourage you to upload your materials to the conference repository or your conference session page ahead of time. I will be sending out an email to all presenters with instructions for that. That email will go out tomorrow. And the same thing with the evaluation slide. A link will go out in an email tomorrow for all presenters. If you do any collaborative work, we also recommend that you use an online crowdsourcing tool such as Google Docs or some other online crowdsourcing tool, so that you can have accessible and collaborative work in those teams. And I am going to open up the floor for any questions or any additional comments that anyone might need to add or ask.
I do see a question in the chat from Jean about suggestions for helping faculty who may have vastly different skill levels or expertise. I guess that's a tough question. I think that you definitely could, maybe have them collaborate together on something if they have different skill levels or expertise. This could be something that they can present as a team. Wouldn't that be true?
I mean, I would say absolutely. We do have some teams who are presenting Innovation Studio sessions. So I guess that answers that specific question.
Yeah. Will there be whiteboards, writing surfaces in the Innovation Studio? That's a question from Jeremy.
Christine's answering the chat, but I'm going to go ahead and read her response out loud because the chat doesn't get exported to the video that will be then sent to YouTube and captioned. But there are whiteboards and flip charts in the Innovation Studio in some areas that are not the presentation area. So if those items are not being used in those other stations, then it is possible that you could use them for your session, but it might not be something that you want to absolutely count on. And that's one of the reasons why we also suggest using an online tool like Google Docs or something so that everybody can participate in that crowdsourcing and note-taking.
Great.
And then there was another question I thought I saw. Jean was asking, for those unfamiliar, is this a come and go type of audience, or do attendees come and stay for the whole session? And that's a great question. Rick, do you want to answer that, or would you like me to continue and try to answer that?
You can continue. I do see that Kate Miffitt messaged us saying that she's wandered in and out in the middle of a session. So the format did accommodate that.
Yeah, and that's something that I was going to say also. So the way the space is set up, it does accommodate a come and go type of a situation, but typically the sessions are not designed as come and goes, like the emerging ideas sessions might be, for example, but you will likely find probably a majority of people who come and stay and seated at those roundtables, but you will certainly, and this is true for any session type, you will certainly have a handful of people who might decide, you know, this isn't what I thought it was, or, you know, I want to see half of this and half of another thing, and that happens, and that's perfectly okay. So you may want to just have that in the back of your mind. And this space is a little bit more open than a traditional presentation room, which would be a little bit more conducive to people feeling like coming and going is an option.
Sure. I would think for the participants to get the most out of this, it would be important for them to be there for the whole thing so that, you know, they can get the hands-on experience and leave with the you know, what they came to learn.
Absolutely, and most will stay for the entire session. So, and as Christine also mentioned, these are 45-minute presentation slots, and you should definitely be allowing for questions and answers at the end as well. The two sessions that happen on Wednesday morning have 90-minute slots and are a little bit more workshop oriented, and those were selected intentionally to be a little bit more workshop oriented by the program committee, and then the rest would be the 45-minute traditional time slot.
Great.
Are there any other questions that anyone has? Okay, if you do find that you have a question later, I know sometimes it takes a little while to process everything, and I'm a processor myself. Feel free to email us at, and I'll put the address in the chat box also, but it's conference@onlinelearning-c.org, and we can answer any questions that you might have. I will stay on for a couple of minutes, as I'm sure Jean and hopefully Rick will as well, in the event that you do have any questions. But I'm going to go ahead and turn off the recording and have that start rendering. And before I do that, though, I just want to say thank you to everyone who attended today and for all those who watched the recording. And we are looking forward to seeing you in Denver in just a few short weeks. And I would like to also ask Jean if she has any concluding comments.
No, just thank you very much, Rick. Really appreciated that. And hopefully everybody gained a little bit of insight from his suggestions. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
And just as a parting thing to keep in mind, if you would like to take advantage of more of the presenter services options, we do have coaching options as well. Even if that's something that you just feel like you'd like a second set of eyes to look over your presentation materials or something like that, you can sign up to request coaching on the presenter services website or on page on the Innovate website. And thank you, and we look forward to seeing you all in Denver.